Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. It's my privilege and pleasure to bring to you another episode of his story through the eyes of his boys. Today is also celebrated as Teachers' Day. On this auspicious occasion, we feel blessed and grateful to have the Supreme Master as our Guru, Sadguru, who helped us, who guided us, who has been our sole protector and guide forever. Let us start this program with a prayer, and I request you all to please join along. O Lord, take my love. Let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Dear brothers and sisters, today our journey, which started with Ved Pathshala, Sri Sathya Sai Ved Shastra Pathshala in 1962, and continued through Ishwarma High School, then Uti, then primary school. Today we are going to get into our era, which was Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School. And I am very happy to bring to you three of our brothers who were part of that first batch, who would share with us this beautiful journey of how the things unfolded during that era. So let me have the pleasure of welcoming Brother Dhurjati Mudigonda. Sairam Dhurjati.
Sairam, brother.
Brother Anil Kumar Botta.
Sairam.
And Ashutosh Verma. Sairam to all the brothers, and welcome to this beautiful episode of his story through the eyes of his boys.
Sairam. Thank you.
Let me take this pleasure and opportunity to introduce a little bit of our brothers. So let me start with Brother Dhurjati. Brother Dhurjati is based right now in Columbus, so he's joining us from America, Ohio. He works as an R&D group manager. He joined our Perthi campus in 1982 and went on to do his degree and master's in chemistry. Till 89 he was there in Prashanthi Nilyam. And then he did his bachelor's in BSc chemistry, and later he completed his PG in MSc chemistry in 1989. Today, Brother Dhurjati is in Ohio, and we have heard great deals about Dhurjati's Veena. So today we'll have a little pleasure of listening to that. So welcome, Brother Dhurjati.
Oh, thank you, Abhi. Sairam.
So Dhurjati, let me introduce others, and then I'll come back to you. So Brother Anil Kumar Botta, he joined Prashanthi Nilyam again in 1982. And he did his MSc, he graduated by master's degree in physics in 1984. Sorry, in again 1989, right? 89, yes. And presently he's based in Kolkata, and he works as a regional head. And Brother Anil Kumar Botta, thank you for joining and welcome to this program.
Pleasure, Sairam.
And next we have Brother Ashutosh Verma. He is presently working as a vice president in an IT company is called IT Response Informatics. It's again a US based company. Brother joined in 1980 actually. He was privileged to come little early to Bhagwan, and he studied in Vrindavan as well as in Parthi. And he has seen the Ishwarama phase of the higher secondary school, and then he came to the higher secondary school and then went on to do his masters. So welcome, Brother Ashutosh.
Sairam, Sairam.
It's really a pleasure to have you all three here. And let me start with Brother Dhurjati. So, brother, if you can tell us a little bit about your journey with Bhagwan, how did Bhagwan come into your family's life?
Oh, it's a wonderful story to narrate. But first of all, I want to offer my salutations at Bhagwan's lotus feet and all the teachers that have so carefully molded us, guided us in our lives. So very grateful, namaskarams and pranams to everybody there. And Abhi, and also thanks to you for putting this wonderful program together, and a lot of work that goes into this. I know you've been meticulously following this, so thank you for doing this. It's a wonderful seva for all of us. So with that, I really want to talk. I mean, this is a beautiful story of how my parents came to Swami. And in every over the years, when we hear about stories of how each of our families, Sai families, were drawn to Bhagavan, obviously with his will, but in a very beautiful, almost a theatrical way. For every one of us, he has a story that he has written, and it is mostly unique for each of us how we all ended up at his lotus feet. Obviously, it is his will, but the story, the way it unfolds, is unbelievably beautiful. So in our case, my father in late 60s, he was an agnostic. He wasn't quite focused on even thinking about God and others at the time, although he was brought up in a very traditional family. And at one of the things that happened at the time was one of my cousins. She had a medical condition and that needed treatment, and they couldn't find a cure with the traditional, allopathic medicines and other medicines that they went after. And the whole family was getting, pretty anxious and also pretty sad about this whole situation going down that way. And so one of my father's friend, I think in a conversation, he said, "Hey, why don't you try going to, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba in Puttaparthi? We live in Andhra Pradesh, he lived in Andhra Pradesh. So why don't you just take a trip there?" Mind you, even though we lived in Andhra Pradesh, it could have been a different planet for all practical purposes. We lived in a small town, and obviously communications and transportations were so meager. Anyway, so the first trip that my parents made to Puttaparthi was in 1971 December, towards the later part of the December. Within the second day of their arrival, Bhagavan called my father for interview, and he talked to him many things. I'll narrate some more maybe when appropriate during our talk today. But one thing that he did was, he said, "I know you brought the girl here," and he created vibhuti and he gave to my father, and he said, "Give it to that girl and she'll be all right." And Swami gave a specific date by when she'll be all right too. And yeah, and then my father he wasn't quite aware of the protocol, so to speak, in the sense, he thought there should be a medicine, just not vibhuti, that should fix it, isn't it? So that's how he was thinking in his mind. It was his first interview. So, and then Swami smiled and he said, "Well, go to the ashram's office and they'll give you the medicine." So later on, he collects the medicine from there, and those bottles my father could never locate the source of those bottles. I mean, they had a name and a label and stuff like that, but he couldn't quite locate where they came from. So he did, and as we all know, when Bhagavan's word is the, command for the universe. So as he willed, she was cured. And I think Swami took more than her to start curing. And so I was next in the line there, So
I think that medicine became the hook for you to all come to
absolutely,
Bhagavan,
absolutely. So I think for us, I always feel like, sometimes Swami gives this little bodily diseases so that we can be drawn to him, so he can fix the bhavaroga, the disease of the, the samsara itself, So the divine doctor, but that's a very unique way, Swami attracted, his devotees. He collected his devotees. So that
allow
was
them to come, invited them in. Yes, that's true. So thank you. At least we started, we get this idea. I will hear more from you. So let us hear from others. So let me bring in Brother Anil. So Anil, how about you? How did your journey start?
Sairam. My humble pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. And I am very thankful, and my reverential pranams to my teachers for Teachers' Day, who molded my future as of now, what I am because of them and Swami. I'm thankful to everyone. To begin with, my journey started way back in 1974-5. Bhagwan comes into our family through our mother, who happens to be a very devout lady. And she was given one photograph of Bhagwan by her sister, typical black and white photograph with Swami's Abhaya Hasta, assuring that he would take care of everyone in the process. And she brings in that photograph, and that time we were staying in a place called Bhubaneswar. Then she gets involved in various, samiti activities, to begin with bhajans, nagar sankirtans, and seva activities. And none of us were kind of, aware to what exactly she was doing. My father was nowhere near to that kind of environment, what my mother was following. And it went on for a period of 1 year or so. Then what happens is, the pull for Bhagwan becomes much stronger, and her urge to go to Parthi became much more stronger there. And she kind of convinces somehow that we should make a move to Parthi to see Bhagwan physically. And all of us, that is my mother, father, my sister, and myself, moved down to Parthi somewhere during that Dasehra time. That's a bit peak time, Normally, a lot of crowds used to be there. So we travel around, and by the time we reach Parthi, it is around, say, 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock. And those days, we didn't have anything to kind of, we never planned anything. So we just went and saw that all people are, staying under a tree, or maybe under a roof, whatever place is available. No sheds were available those days. So we kind of went and parked.
1976.
Yeah, it is 1976. Yeah, after Swami's 50th birthday. So we went there, and as usual, we went there. First thing we saw is, moment we reached there, we saw Bhagwan coming out of his mandir and walking across among the devotees. And devotees were not sitting the way we used to sit subsequently. They were all kind of helter-skelter. Then, typically those days, I would say even during Bhagwan's, the festival days, Bhagwan had a different aura around him. He kind of used to throw energy like that. People used to kind of get attracted. So that was the first darshan we had during that time, wherein the Dasehra being the time wherein this crowd, as well as Swami's, that beauty was very, very prominent, and we could kind of immediately connect with Bhagwan. And while this was happening all through, my father, as usual, he was kind of being a little detached from the system. He was pretty different world altogether. So I think we spent about 3 days there, and all our food and everything we used to have outside mandir. There's a place called Ganesh Hotel, so we used to have there. So one such incident happened after about 2 days, wherein we go and have a breakfast, And when he come out, we see my dad hunting for the wallet, which I believe somebody must have picked up. Then he kind of didn't know what to do. Then suddenly, kind of so desperate, this guy takes pity on us, the hoteler, and says, "Guys, you can go, no issues. We can pay whenever you are comfortable." Then my dad kind of desperately looks for some option, and he bumps into one gentleman called Mr. Late B.R. Swami, who happens to be the chief engineer of Patti during those days. Borrows about 80 rupees and manages to kind of spend another 7 days without any hitch, because every possible way, wherever he went, he had some support or other coming to him unknowingly. So he was pretty kind of, he couldn't believe himself that how could he travel entire South India without any help with just 80 rupees. And we come back to our home in Bhubaneswar. To our surprise, we come to know that the house behind us had been kind of had a dacoity or something like that, and people had taken away everything.
They had broken into the house. Okay.
Yeah. Then they lost everything. And being a South Indian family, we had our goods and all. My mother had kept it helter-skelter under a carpet in home. So they both of them had a very sigh of relief. Whole thing could be managed by Bhagavan without any kind of pain or whatever. The whole lives earnings were probably in the gold. So they were kind of very happy. The first experience they had with Bhagavan. That's how we started exposure to Bhagavan. My father had.
So your father had to lose his wallet to come to Bhagavan. Eh?
Absolutely. And then I'll tell you the next level how we went on.
Sure, excellent. Thank you, Anil. I think it's an interesting thing, how Bhagavan brings people. Sometimes it is disease, sometimes it is an house theft or a losing of a wallet.
Right.
So thank you for sharing. Let me bring in Brother Ashutosh. So Brother Ashu, continue with your story.
Yeah. Om Sri Sai Ram. Most humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of a most beloved Lord. And happy Teachers' Day to all. And really, it's been a privilege to be here on this platform today on a Teachers' Day, when we are really remembering our journey into Swami's institutions and and the way we are living life. It's all Bhagwan's grace. Yeah. I was brought into Bhagwan's fold automatically by my parents being devotee even before my birth. And it so happened in early 60s that my father was introduced to Bhagwan by one of his colleagues, Mr. Dhobal, by narrating such beautiful incidents, that he was really made to go to Swami in Puttaparthi, old Prashanthi Nilyam. And Swami called them for interview, my mother and father, and narrated, just to give them a glimpse of Bhagwan's omnipresence. Swami narrated incidents of what was happening in his workplace, my father's workplace, that was in Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, Haridwar, BHEL, where he literally recreated the entire office scene. And he's telling my father how Mr. X behaves with you, and how Mr. X, how Mr. Y behaves with you. Literally with names. That my father was really shocked, and he was just in all his tears. And then Bhagwan giving some kind of visualizations as to what has gone wrong that particular day when you were supposed to be thrown out of the office by this politics in the office, and how Swami manages the whole scene to save him. I mean, these are the incidents which my father, was really, surprised with. And then that's how, their journey into Bhagwan's life, or Bhagwan's life into our journey, began. And, early 60s, these were the incidents. I had my first darshan. I had my first darshan in Delhi in 1970, Talkatora Gardens, where Bhagwan used to come and stay with Mr. Sohanlal at Golf Links. And in Talkatora Garden, it's a beautiful place where Bhagwan used to give the darshan. And it was in 70s. I remember I was a small boy of just 3-year-old, and I used to sit by my mother. I was sitting with my mother waiting for Swami to come in the pandal, with beautiful, rangolis and all that were made for him. I very clearly remember, it was a long wait. And when Swami came, he came slowly, very gently and beautifully. He came so close, and he was very, very close, and he just touched my head. And it was so beautiful having his Parnavaskaram at that age. And I still remember. And the incident that followed was more beautiful and more, kind of enlightening for us. He just went a little away to a lady sitting maybe next in 2 to 3 rows, uh, and asked that Swami bent down, and Swami asked that lady in Hindi, "Amma, mere sir par haath lagao." The
So
lady
mother, touch
was,
my head. Touch my
touch my
head.
head. Yeah, you touch my
Yeah.
head. Amma, mere sir par haath lagao. That lady was shaken. I mean, as we could see, that lady was badly shaken as to, why Swami kneeling down, literally kneeling down, and then asking her to touch her head, touch his head. Very reluctantly, slowly, Swami kept on repeating, "Amma, touch my head. Mere sir ko chuo." So she finally touched, and she screamed. She screamed very badly. Everybody could hear in that, pin drop silent pandal that, this lady has screamed so badly. And what we could see next was she literally fainting. Just in next few seconds, Swami brings her back and tells her, "Amma, abhi wapas mere sir par haath lagao." Amma, touch my head again. And she was in too much of shock, too much of fear to touch Swami's head. But Swami made her touch his head second time. And then what we could see on that lady's face was peace, calmness, a kind of happiness, the joy that, and then the whole incident, just went by, and Swami went off. Once Swami went off, all these ladies crowded that lady. What happened? What happened to you? What was that? What Swami wanted to, make you say, "Ki, touch my head, Amma, mere sir pe haath lagao." That lady was full in tears, and she was telling. She just told everybody who was around. When Swami came, when I could see Swami coming from far, I felt that itna bada baal rakhne ka zarurat kya hai? What is the need for
What is
keeping
the need
such
for
big
having
hair?
such big
For
hairdo?
having
Huh?
such big hair? And what will be there in this hair? And that was
So
the
he made her
moment.
touch
I
her.
mean, everybody felt okay. He made it touch her, and not only that, the lady
How
narrates
old were you,
what happened
Ashu?
the first time.
How old were you at that time? How
I
old were
was
you that
I
time?
was 3 year old. I was 3 year old, and my mother,
And
my
you
parents, when
have
they
that
came to,
impression?
absolutely,
Okay.
that very clear impression in my mind, and the way we discussed at the family, how the incident happened. That
Certainly.
lady said,
Yeah.
when I touched, when I touched first time Swami's head, I could see burning infernos. I could see, panic. I could see suffering. I could see so much of, the negativity. That's why I screamed so much. But next time when Swami asked me to touch, I could see the lakes. I could see the mountains. I could see happiness. I could see the joy in the nature. So that incident is such thing that is really, imprinted in my mind what Swami is, and how, he's a Purnavatar to know everything, being omnipresent, omniscient, and, the way we are blessed with him. That's it. I just wanted to start with that, this program.
Sure, Ashu, sure. Thank you very much. It's an interesting thing. Actually, I was just thinking about, when uh, initial years, especially in initial years, we all face these kind of situations when Swami will point out something which happened in the past, which we would not expect anybody to know because we have done something in a very secluded manner. And suddenly that becomes like a trigger point that, hey, you are not in front of an ordinary person. There is something extraordinary happening in the life. So, Dhurjati, any thoughts on that?
Actually, it is. I mean, it's such a wonderful story, Ashutosh. And I was going to say, many of us don't know each other's stories because we were really focused on only Swami all the 1 years. So it's wonderful to hear a lot of these stories of how our own brothers came to Swami. So that actually is a very interesting, aspect to talk about. I'll narrate a small incident with in my father's case. So, as I said, he was agnostic before he became Swami's devotee, and through the incident or through the my cousin's medical situation, we were drawn to Swami's lotus feet. And in the first interview, when Bhagavan, called my father for interview, he goes inside the interview room. Within the first few sentences, Swami asked my father, he said, "Why did you abuse me or talk disrespectfully on that day with your friends?" So it was a shock for my father, because this was something that happened years prior to my father coming to Puttaparthi. And I mean, he was not even aware of Swami to start with much. So when somebody showed a photograph and talked about Swami, they had a very, not so respectful conversation about Swami, And so, and it was, I guess, it was fashionable to talk negative about,
Godhead people, yes.
Yeah. And so, when he said that, he also followed that with something else. He said, to disrespect God, knowingly or unknowingly, is a sin. And he said, if you put your finger in fire, knowingly or unknowingly, it will burn. He said it's the exact same thing with God. And now, with our little logic, we can extrapolate this and realize why it is not our duty, our job, in fact, if any, I should say, our role to comment on anybody in the world, actually. Because God lives in everything, and we have no role to play in judging anybody other than our own selves for the betterment of us. That's all is the focus we ought to have. Actually, it is true whether you are Swami's devotee or not, that ought to be the case, because that is the only way we can actually improve, forget about the rest of the world. So that is something that I think it stuck with my father quite a bit, and also with me quite a bit. I was going to say, even afterwards, there were so many instances in our own lives where we had experienced Bhagavan in his omnipresent glory in our homes, where we had vibhuti come through photographs onwards.
Now, Dhurjati, I have heard about your village. It seems everybody in the village had Swami in the houses. So it sounds very weird, but please tell something little bit about your village.
Yeah, so this was a small town and near Hyderabad.
Where is this town? Name it, please.
It is called Siddipet. So it was near.
Siddipet.
Yeah, it was near Hyderabad. In early 70s, Swami was, suddenly many of the people who lived in that town became aware of Swami, and Bhagavan blessed that devotees in that town in immensely. I mean, you can't even imagine some of the experiences they have had within that town, and numerous to narrate. I mean, I'll say one, and some of these, even though I was young, I do quite recollect seeing them, just like Ashutosh said. Some of these things make a lasting impact on you for your life, and so few of them are like that. The things I remember from that time was one Shivratri, we were supposed to have a bhajan in somebody's home, and in their home, just before the bhajan started, every inch of their home was filled with not just photographs. I mean, like the whole areas, everywhere you'd see vibhuti everywhere. It was like a grand scale, miracles that you would see. I should actually say this. Maybe it's appropriate to say this. The grand scale of Bhagavan's miracles are really what we can see with our own eyes. The planets, the earth, ourselves, the life. This is all Bhagavan. When we really, when Swami tells us about himself, because we are incapable of understanding Swami. He tells us that I am the Lord of the Lords. Swami says that,
Absolutely.
I am the Lord of the Lords. I mean, just think about that statement. That grandeur is incomprehensible for us. And so for us, it's still, I'm saying this because I use the word grand, but Bhagavan's grandeur is something that we cannot even comprehend or express.
But it is the truth, Dhurjati. If you think of it,
Yeah.
the whole house
Yeah.
filled every inch with vibhuti.
Yeah.
In fact, anybody would get a shock. Like, what is happening here? Like, who is spraying vibhuti all around?
The other thing was Bhagavan was present, has always been present everywhere in every part of the world. Inchina, Swami says that to Kasturi Garu, Swami,
Yeah.
Kasturi Garu says Swami's presence is felt, Swami's Namam will be chanted at every house. In Telugu, it is called Illu. So intina. So Swami says intina kaadu Kasturi, inchina. So in every inch, and you would see this vibhuti when it's manifesting. You see his grace in every aspect of it. So many way numerous experiences talk about. I will tell one more because it really is mind-boggling how Swami, the Sadguru that he is, he watches us, he takes care of us, and he corrects us, puts on the path of sadhana, just only so that we have progress. He gets nothing out of this. There's not a one bit. Swami said, not even an iota of selfishness exists in him. And in this case, this is what it is. So my father, when he first went to Puttaparthi and came back, he would sit down and sit for like 3 or 4 hours for meditation, in a day altogether. And so later on, when he went back to Puttaparthi, in the interview, Swami told him, he said, why do you sit for so many hours of meditation? All that, you can't be focused that long. All that you are doing is making, like his wife, my mother, to go and tell everybody that, oh, he's in meditation, you can't disturb him right now. So that everybody is thinking that you are actually doing this great sadhana and you are a great person. Although it may not be a conscious, decision that we do in things like that, but the egoism creeps in, and only the Sadguru watches this and cuts it and nips it at the bud level. And so that is one aspect of how Swami monitors your sadhana.
Beautiful.
The second thing I would say, and then I'll let others chime in on this. One time, again, this is one more of my parents' experience. My father used to play veena, and the music has been in our families, and it passed along through generations. So my father used to play veena early in the morning after Suprabhatam, Omkar Suprabhatam meditation. He would play veena in before Swami's altar. And again, this is in 70s in Siddipet, in our home, small little town. And one morning he thought, well, why am I playing veena? I'm not a professional musician. He was a teacher by profession. And he said, Swami has so many wonderful musicians who play for music. It's not like he needs to listen to my music. And so he takes his veena, puts it on the side, and then goes back with with the rest of his activities for the day. And this is one more of the incidents that I have very vivid memory of this. And so we go to somebody's home that evening for bhajans. So just before the Omkar starts, and from the top of the photograph, a small little vibhuti packet falls off. And it's like nobody really knew it was a vibhuti packet to start with, because it's something just fell. And so they go pick it up, and on that vibhuti packet, it was like folded up, and it was written Veera, and then there was a little drawing of Veena on the other side. And so they said, okay, so it is, my father was known to play veena, so he said Veerabhadra. My father's name was Veerabhadraya, so it was Veera. So they said, oh, it is for Mr. Veerabhadraya. So they come and give it to my father. He opens the vibhuti packet, and there is vibhuti, but there is also a letter in that. In that, Swami writes, Veerabhadraya, ni veena vintunna, SSS. So what it translates is, Veerabhadraya, I'm listening to your veena, SSS.
I'm listening to your veena.
See, I think the beauty and the blessings and the grace and the enormous fortune that we have is that Swami is our master, and he guides us, protects us, holds us by hand, makes us walk, prevents us from falling off, and encourages us to walk on the path that he came to inspire us to walk. So this is something that I hold very, very dearly to my heart. And I think each of us, everybody in the world, if you've known Swami,
Dhurjati, you're tempting me to make you play something. So as you prepare with your veena, let me invite Brother Anil to share his thoughts on this.
Yeah, actually, Dhurjati, it just took me to that level. I clearly remember, when I had a chance of doing the Mandi decoration, year 1985, 84, 85, I would say, when Swami 60th birthday was on its way. I have a incident wherein during this 84, that is after class 12, I come back to my father's place, which happens to be a very remote project area in remote part of Odisha, wherein we have nothing to do. In fact, what happens there is, and once the day sets in, either you kind of read something or you tend to sleep. Nothing is there. So being a class 12 boy, I would say teenager, I was kind of restless to do something, to engage my mind. So I happened to search all the corners of my home, and I kind of find a stack of books, in storeroom, which my dad used to read. So I pick up one of these books, and I kind of read the book inside out. I mean, that once you are a Swami student, you got to follow certain things in your life as a person who have to honor everything in terms of doing something or not doing something. So this is something which I had done, and after having done that, what happens, after the entire process, I feel very guilty about it, and I go on a sly and burn that book entirely. And I don't even share this incident to anyone, not even in my, none of my friends also know about it. So I come back after summer vacation, and I sit there in Russian. And meanwhile, what happens is, suddenly, we get selected for Mandir decoration. And I happen to go to Mandir first floor on a regular basis. One such instructions, what happens, I kind of go there, and I come and sit back whenever Swami used to give darshan during that time. So during darshan, Swami comes and asks name. So by then I had forgotten everything what I had done. Nothing is, I am not remembering anything as such. Then I keep quiet. I don't know what his name is. I told my name. No, that's your name. That's your name. Now it happens for 2 days, and the third day when I was working alone on the first floor, I was working. Then suddenly Swami walks in. Then he comes and describes a complete book, the jacket of the book, that cover the book, the color of the book, and a picture of the lady how it was looking. Everything, I mean, I couldn't control. Now what happens is, normally you kind of become very emotional and break down, and nothing to do. Kind of, I was flabbergasted how whole thing could happen. The entire incident happened, about 1,500 kilometers away from Parthi. That's the first experience as a teenager I'm having. Ki Bhagwan is reading your mind inside out, and he's telling you what had happened. He knows my thoughts, each of every thought. Then puts it across, right time, saying that what I'm supposed to be doing, what I'm not supposed to be doing. And when he was talking to me, an entire group of boys come around, surround him. And he even pointed out to some few boys. I told, see, look, you also had done that. You also had done that. But I was kind of being a, moment of, you have that repentance in your system. So the moment you have the repentance, the God also responds to your, your feelings. And that is what I was, I'm right now carrying forward. Every action of mine, I'm 101% sure is being monitored and guided by Bhagwan, and which is makes things very, very difficult to do anything wrong. That's how the whole system is built up.
It's beautiful.
I'm
Just
very,
for the
very
audience,
moved by that
just
incident.
for the audience, I want to clarify. You are saying about decoration. I want to tell people that what Anil's brother is trying to say is, during birthdays, Swami had given some boys an opportunity to come and decorate the whole mandir with lights, and he was part of that group. So what he's saying that he went to the first floor, that is the top floor of the mandir. So because Anil, when you're saying, many people listening, they won't know what you really mean. So I'm just trying to highlight that. And they had a privilege. They were a very small group of, we used to call them electrical boys. So they had the privilege of being with Bhagwan in the mandir and decorate the mandir. And that is where this experience has happened with brother. I think I have a picture also. Let me share for the benefit of the audience so that they will get an idea. Yes. So they will get an idea, Anil, that
Yeah, this is a 60th birthday picture. You can see happy birthday on the dome. That is where, though it is on the first floor, that is right now we have in Kulwant Hall. First floor, I mean the first floor of the mandir here. And that is where the incident happened. A very, very moving incident, which is unforgettable for my life. I kind of keeps reeling on me when I can't forget that.
I'm sorry, a fluctuation of light here. Are you all there? Sorry, if
Yeah.
there's a fluctuation in my place. If I go off again, then there's a lot of hurricane outside, kind of very heavy rains. So if I again disappear, then one of you please take over and continue the journey. So this is a
Please.
photograph I wanted to show the people to understand what Brother Anil was talking about. So they were 3-4 boys who were involved in the whole decoration, and they used to spend the whole day and night uh, decorating this beautiful mandir. So thank you,
I'll
Brother
narrate one
Anil,
more incident.
for
I'll
that.
just narrate one more incident in the photograph. Can you put the
Sure.
photograph back there? Basically,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. See, right hand side of the photograph, that is happens to be the ladies' side. I remember one incident wherein, say, it's around 2:30 or 2 o'clock. I was working on the parapet. Parapet, I mean, the place wherein this balcony ends, at the first floor, second floor, the parapet side. I was actually working on that very sincerely, sticking some lights there. And that is just now darshan is about to begin. So I was working there, and Swami somehow comes there, and I was not aware of. I was very, being a ladies' side, I was very careful. I shouldn't be doing anything very silly, so end up being a problem. Then someone, whole that there's a kind of hush, entire darshan, the what you call mandir. Very, very typical hush. When Swami comes, you can make out, but I was not aware of it. So I was very sincerely doing them. Swami was looking at me from this first floor, what I was doing. And it's about, say, 30, 40 seconds passed away. Everybody was very anxiously looking what Swami is going to do. Then I kind of, after having done that, I was demanding some cellophane tape from someone. And he was not giving it to me. Then I got kind of annoyed, and I was like, make it fast. So I look up and see Bhagwan standing there. And Bhagwan's expression and my expression looking at Bhagwan, entire darshan, everybody is kind of laughing, ha ha ha. That's a kind of a roar which again lingers in, whenever I kind of go there and sit there. I just remember those moments, something which I can, I take it with me. That's how it is for me.
Certainly. Let me ask you all, how did you now, after these beautiful experiences in the initial years because of your parents, you all decided, you became part of the system, but how did you decide to become the student? So how did you jump in? Let me start. Anybody? So Ashu, you can start. How did you
Yeah.
decide to come to Perthi as a student?
Yes. So having seen that initial days of Bhagwan's divinity in Delhi, my father every year used to take LTC and leave and come to Prashanthi Nilyam for a month. So it so happened that we were part of Bhagwan's Golden Jubilee birthday celebrations, 1975. That we had come with the family, and as that time no rooms were available, we got to put up our things, or I would say, where we were put up was close to Vritvraksha. So that was the place where we got to stay. And the whole setup was there with the family. We used to live there and then go to darshan for mandiram, what just now you showed, the beautiful picture of Prashanthi Nilyam there. Sitting during those darshans, uh, the boys in white attracted me a lot. And how they were behaving themselves around Swami. All those people had come from Vrindavan. I remember, and I recollect that having seen Mr. Nityanand Menon, C Srinivas, and Sudarshan, many of those known faces at that point in time, that really inspired me actually. And the way Swami was talking to them, Swami was mingling with them, the way Swami was actually living with them, is what attracted me. And from then on, it was a craving for me to just pray and get into Swami's institute. That point in time, I remember that the college was affiliated to Tirupati University. In Prashanthi Nilyam, there was no, and all the schools were Telugu medium that point in time. So even during darshan, when I got up in the sands to request Swami, ke Swami admission, DJ school mein. So Swami said, wait, wait. Three times he said, wait, and then he went on. So every year when I went after 1975, I just prayed to Swami, ke Swami admission chahiye. And that was, every year it was building, that craving was building. And I was always seeing those, the Swami's life around students, or students' life around Swami, to be so wonderful that it really attracted me. And my parents knew that, given a chance, or he will surely leave us and he will go. I basically belong to Haridwar, and the distance was very far, and my father was always saying that you should go to Swami's Institute. At the same time, we should not be missing you. So that was the craving, and really that finally worked out in 1980, 5 years down the line, when Swami really got me into his school, Ishwaram High School. That's it.
Excellent. So you were the batch of PUC boys in Ishwaram High School. So Dhurjati, how did you decide to join as a student?
So again, one more theatrical story for me, because I was not even thinking about joining Swami's school at the time that it all happened. Because I was going with the regular junior college in the town that we were living. I was prepared for that entire process to go with the plan that I had in my mind, which was to continue with my friends that we studied together and continue with the junior college that we were all going to go together. And then one of my father's close friends, he was going to send, or he was looking to get his son admitted in Swami's school. So, and since we both were friends when we were younger, so he said, why don't I get 2 applications and then send one to Dhurjati and another one, to his son. And so both of us applied, and long story short, he didn't make it and I made it, so, and then I'll also narrate 2 more, a few more sentences here. And then, I used to play Veena, in Swami's darshan time. Then after a year or so of me playing Veena, one day I was carrying the Veena back. I used to carry the Veena back and forth from the hostel. And so one day when I was carrying the Veena, there's a gentleman who taps on my back and he says, oh, so that's you. I said, it's who, what? And he said, well, a few years ago, I asked Swami for a permission to give an opportunity to play Veena during his darshan. And Swami said, well, my boy is coming, he'll play. And so looking back, the random set of events, or at least the way it appears to be random, was never really random. It was his plan that is unfolding. And when we look back, it is just sweet. It is just so sweet.
So Dhurjati, may I ask you to play something for us so that people can also go back to that nostalgia?
Absolutely.
As you are preparing, let me just tell them that in the 80s, if people had gone to darshan, to mandir, I'm sure everybody must have heard an instrumental being played as soon as Swami would come out for darshan. That instrumental, for many years, I also thought it was being played by a cassette. But then later on, we got to know that it was Brother Dhurjati who was blessed to play that. He would be alone sitting inside the mandir, bhajan hall, and as soon as Bhagavan would open the knob, turn the knob of the door, the most awaited time for all of us,
Precious
and he
time.
would step out, brother would start playing, and many times Bhagavan would step inside the bhajan hall to give him blessing and then go for darshan. And that is how the journey of instrumental music in Mandir started. So, Brother Dhurjati. Dhurjati, we can keep listening to you like that.
Lovely, lovely.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll have few more afterwards. So, Brother Anil, how did your journey start as a student?
My journey would be something like this. Bhagavan makes so many people what do you call a mediator kind of a thing to reach him. So for me, one astrologer acted as a medium kind of a person. He kind of interacted with my dad. My father was those days he was a convener of one particular samiti there, and he interacted with my dad and guided him that if at all I am not made to be put in a controlled environment, I may go astray. Then my dad was getting a lot of tension. How kind of how can he kind of ensure that this fellow is made to be in a disciplined way? So he was very, very tensed. So meanwhile, my 10th exam gets over, and I also happened to pass out my group 2 Bal Vikas exam. Then the 10th results were, it's really shocking for me. I had a very bad percentage. So it's around 73 or 74%, which those days, according to the standards of Patti, was supposed to be pathetic. So I go with my father, but I didn't have any chance.
I would underline that as per the Perthi standards. I would underline that.
So then my dad takes me along with him to Parthi, and my mother also goes with me. And mother was very desperate. Being an only son, she didn't want me to see, going around Astra or whatever it is. Then she sits in darshan line, prays to Swami. 2 days or 3 days after that, she happens to get a first line, and she asks Swami, Swami, seat for my son. So Swami tells in Telugu, yeah, go and ask principal. So then what happens is my mother comes to, those days our principal sir used to be Balabhadra Naidu sir. So he meets my mother and says, my mother pleads with him, please give him a seat. Then says no chance. Then says, nahi, Swami told me that talk to you. So okay, then in that case you'll get a seat. So I was so desperate, I'd applied in almost all groups, MPC, CEC and HEP or whatever it is, those groups. And I was sure I won't get an MPC. I was mentally tuned that I should be getting maybe commerce those days. And after the interview, normal interview, and my name happens to be the last name in MPC list. So somehow I scraped through, get inside Swami's school. As that time it has to be junior college. So I got inside that junior college first day. And I was very happy that I could make it. Then after about say a week or 10 days, we come to know, it's no more junior college, it's going to be CBSE. So it's really something which is really out of world, because CBSE those days used to be a standard kind of a course everybody wanted to follow.
Still good
So
one, yeah.
that's how we got in there. Then the college starts off, everybody, people who, I remember one incident with of my friend, wherein he joined HEP, History, Economics and Political Science group. And he's so desperate that he didn't want to continue there. And the guy was good, and suddenly he gets a dream, and in dream Swami says, see, you're going to be in CEC. CEC was CAE. CAE was never a group that time, because that time it was CEC. And suddenly this group changes and all groups are merged, and he's put into CEC.
These abbreviations are known to us, but not for CAC. Basically, is a commerce group.
Yeah.
So let's put a broader term for people to understand.
Commerce group.
We are finished.
What I want to tell is that the guy who got into this CAE group ends up being a gold medalist when he completes his MCOM. Swami has a various ways of pulling strings. He has a plan to put where to put whom and how he has to go way forward. And that is how the first thing started off with. My exposure to my friends and other things are taken up there.
See, when you all enter the hostel, and since everybody has joined after their 10th, so that means you have all done your basic schooling in other places. So you can have a little bit of comparison in your head. So when you enter the hostel first time, can you give us, our audience, a glimpse of what is your first impression? What kind of hostel it is? What kind of people you meet? What kind of teachers you meet? What is that? Just give the audience a glimpse of hostel of that time. Anybody? Ashu, anybody? Yeah.
Yeah. Before I enter into the hostel, I want to narrate that transition from 10th class to the higher secondary school.
No, I will tell you that. That will come. Ashu will come. Okay. I'll ask you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's start here. Yeah.
Okay. The hostel was something unique. Something we are leaving behind the house. Where we have grown up, where we had all the luxuries of life, I would say. And here we have come to a place where the ceilings don't have a fan. And in scorching sun, in scorching heat, you feel that you have come to a place, where there is nothing, and you try to get acclimatized to something which you are not used to. So that is what is grace of Bhagwan, that he tells us that you have to live the way I want you to live and understand the life. So that's the lesson that I actually learned, getting into the hostel, which had absolutely nothing but the atmosphere inside the hostel, the lifestyle inside the hostel, right from Suprabhatam till the lights off at 10. I think it's all beautifully planned and spanned in such a way that, what we live today is actually the foundation was so strong, so good, that we are able to really, live up to any kind of things that, Bhagwan wants us to. So experience coming into hostel was absolutely unique, something out of the world, I would say, which we never expected, and something absolutely divine. That's my understanding of getting into hostel.
So, Dhurjati, what kind
If I
of
can add,
seniors you had? Yeah, sure, Anil.
yeah, actually, when I came in there, I was kind of taken. I was kind of taken a lot of information about hostel, how it is going to be, how is the warden going to be. So I had a lot of things, about warden, that he is a very strict disciplinarian. And Nitan Menon used to be there that time, you got to be very, very systematic in your way you're going to kind of carry your entire day. So I walk in there with my luggage. My dad also comes with me, and first thing, I was kind of asked to sign in there, and all the formalities have to be finished. Once I finish the formality, I see one senior guy, I don't remember the name. One senior person comes and takes me to a room called B18. B18 is supposed to be, one of the rooms which probably I'll tell you detail what happened B18. And therein he takes it and puts me in beside one post-graduation boys, cupboard.
So I think they used to carry the luggage also with you.
Carried my luggage, and I was really zapped. Yeah, this senior guy, why should he do for me whatever it is? And he's doing it, and he went and put there, and I happened to get into stay beside a very senior guy. That gentleman, now I suppose Sundarayar. Then I couldn't believe it. How can a person of very sorry, I'm very a person so what do you call class 10 pass out and goes and stays with somebody or PG boy, which is just not acceptable in a normal outside world. You cannot kind of connect with them also. And over a period of time, I understand that these people who have been staying there, they were so different from outside in terms of when you talk to them. See, we could kind of talk to them in the first name. The only thing you would put is a bro, maybe Sundaraya brother, or whoever it is, but we can kind of call them a first name. Then no one took any offense to that. The way we kind of talked to them, the way we interacted with them. I've seen guys, class 8 guys, calling me the first name, and still they're very, very matured and very balanced here. And end of the day, the way they carry themselves, that itself is an example. The way they behave, the way follow their day-to-day course and all, it is something which probably everybody tends to follow, or that no one has any difficulty in doing that. Being an outsider,
many boys mention, like other places you have like issues of bullying or ragging. Here it is reversed.
Absolutely. I mean, that is something which I still remember. B18 and B19, almost all our boys were put there. And
so, Dhurjati, what was your room?
It was I was his roommate too. So B18.
I was in B4.
Before.
Okay.
So how was the school then? What is the first impression of the school? It was a very basic school at that time. Today being a Teachers' Day, so we can think of our teachers. Dhurjati, you want to start? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. For me, I mean, school and hostel were kind of interlinked because some of the teachers were in both places. And so it really never separated out as a special entity by itself. That said, for me, it was a little bit more drastic change because I was in Telugu medium until my 10th grade. So as Ashutosh and Anil mentioned, the I joined actually. I got a seat in Telugu medium actually in Puttaparthi. Then within very short period of time, within the first 2 weeks, I think they said, well, it's going to be English medium, and then it's going to be central, board. So it was kind of hard. And I was going to say actually, the first day I walked into the hostel, B18 again, and that place for somebody coming from a small town, to me, I was actually going up places now, for me, so there were the people in that room were from across the country, and many of them spoke beautiful fluent English, and I could barely put together 3 words together. So it was an amazing journey for me, because it was a very nurturing environment. And this, like what you said, Abhi, there was no bullying. It's always been cooperation, not competition, in Swami's institutions. So the only time you compete is with yourself to get better, but rest of the times you cooperate with others. And I think every person there, they are like angels to me. My classmates and the seniors, they are all so pious, uh, and loving, immense love actually. And that whole environment was extraordinarily beautiful for me. No doubt that I missed my home for the first few days, a lot more than down the road when we started getting more familiar there. And added to this whole confusion was this whole education going into central board was new to me, and then the teaching was in English medium. So there was a lot of people who held me by their hand and taught me. I can't thank enough, all the amount of work that they put in just so that I come through. I did make it through in school, in the first class. But think about that. It is a great challenge for somebody who had no real solid foundation there to get adapted into something like this. And not
Actually, Dhurjati, if you look at it, you came from Telugu medium and you came to English.
Yep.
And here we had Ashutosh, who came from Hindi medium and had to learn Telugu. So Ashu, now you can tell me your story.
I came from Oriya medium, learned English.
Oh, you came from Oriya. So we are all beautiful combinations. So Oriya to English, Telugu to English, and Hindi to Telugu.
English
So
Telugu.
Ashu, you tell me your story now. How Telugu became English for you when you joined the 11th grade?
Yeah. As I said, Swami, in 1980, when I was sitting in the sands on the gent side, my mother and my sisters had come along with us. So they were sitting in the lady side, I was in the gent side. Swami came on the sands to me, and I told Swami admission. And this time I was sure that, I will do whatever best I can to convince Swami that, I need to be here. And then Swami himself, said, "Mother kidhar hai? Where is your mother?" And my mother, when Swami turned towards lady's side, my mother got up. And Swami next moment said, he looked at the veranda, the portico side, and I don't know whom he looked at, and there was some kind of communication between Swami and the person in the veranda. And next thing was, come inside the interview room. So I walked inside go towards the interview room. My mother walks from other side, and my sisters also get up from, to go for the interview. Swami stays there and tells my sisters to sit down there, not to come inside. Ask my mother only to go inside. So that was one very, incident which really was very much bugging for my sisters at that point in time. But nobody knows what Swami has in mind. So we went inside the interview room, and Swami asked me, join karta hai? Ready to join? I said, yes, Swami, I'm ready to join. And Swami says, this is still Telugu medium. So how will you learn? I said, Swami, I will learn Telugu. I will learn Telugu, Swami. It was like, a kind of, my prayer, desperation. And Swami, Telugu sikhega, Swami. And Swami was so happy, he tells that, okay, Swami gives you admission. I will tell the warden to give you seat in the hostel. I will tell principal to give you seat in the school, Ishwarama High School. You join, and in the whole of the interview room, my mother and I only had this discussion with Bhagwan. No other discussion about family, father, nothing. Just Swami asking, how will you get into the school and how you should be in the school. That's it. Swami comes out. I was, my sister actually had joined Anandpur College in 1978. And I knew that how difficult it is to catch Swami once we are out of the entry room. So I made it a point to tell Swami that you please communicate to principal and warden right now that I should be taken in. Uh, that was the kind of, I
Desperation, you
would say the
say.
emotion, desperation. Yes, Swami, abhi boliye, abhi boliye. We have come out of the interview room, outside the door, and I'm telling Swami, please call the principal. You tell right now, because I know once we are out, then it's all into it's an open world for everybody. Swami calls, the warden, Swami's drama. Nityanand Menon is not around. Then he calls the principal. It's a school time, so everybody's in the school. You don't worry. You go. I will tell them. And then this is how Swami plays that whomever he wants is not available, and then it's left to only our prayers. But by Swami's grace, when the list is put up in Ishwaram High School, by Swami's grace, my name is there. So I am so happy that Swami kept his word, that he didn't take me for a ride. Okay, I will tell principal at that point in time. I will tell warden at that point in time. My name is there. I joined Ishwarama High School. I was so happy. My parents, my whole family was so happy. I joined the hostel, and the life that we lived, and getting into the Telugu medium style was something out of this world. One day I was sitting in Portico, and Swami comes, and he asked me, "Telugu सीखता है? Are you learning Telugu?" I said, "Yes, Swami." And then Swami speaks something in Telugu which I am not able to understand, and I am not able to reply. So he asked me, "ये क्या तेलुगु सीखता है? ये कैसा तेलुगु सीखता है?" And
What
then
kind of
he
Telugu is
calls,
it? Do
and,
you-
and then he calls the Telugu teacher, Srinivas sir, in the close to me, and ये बच्चा पढ़ता है? Is he understanding Telugu? Is he learning Telugu? हाँ Swami, he's learning Telugu. He's trying hard. पास कैसे होता है? Swami is asking me. पास कैसे होता है तेलुगु में? When he cannot speak, and when he cannot, ये पास कैसे होता है? तो very happily, joyously, I tell Swami, आपका grace से पास होता है.
How do
And
you
Swami,
pass? He said, "You're by grace."
by your grace I pass. And then he looks at Srinivaslu sir. Srinivaslu sir understands something different, and he says, Swami, मैं इसको grace marks देता हूँ. Swami, I give him the grace marks, and he passes, and then Swami bursts into laughter. And then he tells me, you have to learn Telugu. If you have to really pass, you have to learn Telugu. And that incident is done. After a few weeks, again Swami comes. Swami come close to me, and again he asks, Telugu कैसा सीखता है? How are you learning Telugu? I said, Swami, अच्छा सीखता है Swami. अच्छा सीखता है. पास भी हो गया Swami. Marks आया, अच्छा marks आया तेलुगु में. कितना marks आया है? And I am just on the border marks, just passed with grace marks, of course. And then Swami tells me, tough, very tough. Telugu is very tough. I said, no, Swami, Telugu is not very tough. He asked me why. मैंने बोला, Swami, हमने टीचर को हिंदी सिखा दिया. Okay, Swami.
Okay, he said,
Telugu is
Swami,
not
we have
tough
taught the
because
teacher,
he taught
Telugu teacher Hindi. We have taught him Hindi.
how to speak Hindi. And Swami immediately burst into laughter. The whole portico is laughing. And okay, these people are not learning Telugu, but teaching Hindi to the Telugu teacher. He calls Srinivaslu sir again, and he tells, क्या तुम हिंदी सीखता है? क्या तुम हिंदी सीखता है? हाँ स्वामी, ये बच्चा मेरे को बहुत अच्छे से हिंदी सिखाता है.
Let
So
me
that was
translate. Let me translate for everybody. He's saying, Swami called the Telugu teacher and said that, did you learn Hindi? He said, yes, Swami, these boys have taught me very well Hindi. So he had to teach you Telugu and you taught him Hindi.
Yes. And
So
this is how
ultimately, did
the
you pass? Did
conversation.
you pass with flying colors?
I passed, but Swami himself played a miracle in between. He turned Ishwarama High School into English medium.
Okay, so
So
then you got saved.
that was the miracle that we left Telugu somewhere in between, and we carried on with English and Hindi, going forward in the board exam.
Okay, Ashu, I want to
Uh,
just keep the
yeah,
time in check. So I want you to tell us
yeah.
the story of your joining 11th class, because that transition is very critical for you. So please share us that your journey,
Yes.
because we thought that
Okay.
you should
So
be easy to get admission because you are already part of the system. So it should be a natural transition for you from Ishwarama PUC to higher secondary. But it was not
right.
so. Please share.
It was not so. It was not so. See, we came from ninth, we came to 10th class, and the expectations from Swami, the first time Swami school boys are appearing for board examination, that I would call that, excitement, that hype, I would say, was too much around in the hostel, in the school, that first time these six boys are going to, appear for board exam. Swami used to inquire a lot from principal and from warden how these people are studying, whether they are faring well, whether they need any special attention. So Swami was giving all kind of care, all kind of love, so that we could perform, we could come up to Swami's expectations in our
Just to
board
highlight,
examination.
you said six boys. So there were only
Yes.
six boys who were appearing
We
for
were
board exam.
Yes, we were only six boys in 10th class who were appearing for board examination. One was from Assam, I was from Haridwar, one was from Andhra Pradesh. We had one from Trinidad Tobago, and we had one from, they were day scholars as well. Out of, we were four in the hostel, and two are the day scholars. So we were six of us who were, appearing for board exam, and
That
Swami
is how
was taking,
our school
extra.
started, with six boys coming from Ishwarama school, getting the board exams, and now entering here. Okay, great.
Yes. Finally, with all Swami's blessings, we all appeared for board examination. We were all charged up. The kind of love, the kind of attention, the kind of care all the teachers did. Swami, blessed us with all his love. And finally, we appeared for exams. And when the results came, it was a kind of a disaster. What Swami had expected, what teachers had expected, what our parents had expected, we didn't really come up to their level of expectations. Results were not so great. And when during summer vacation from 10th to 11th, that summer vacation, we did not go home. We stayed back just to ensure that we get in direct admission into 11th class. But it was not so be. It was not to be. Uh, Considering our marks, we were all denied, admission into 11th class straight away. There was no preference given to people who came from Ishwaram High School and we are part of first batch of higher secondary school. So there was no preference. There was no special, kind of grant or any kind of automatic switchover from 10th to 11th. Nothing doing. You all have not done very well in your exams, and you will not be granted admission. That was the statement made by principal and warden sir. We were staying in old hostel that point in time. The only privilege that we had was staying in old hostel is a privilege, I would say. Sleeping every day in the sands around Swami's Mandir, sleeping right in front of interview room, putting our bed. We enjoyed all the privileges of old hostel, staying there, living in Prashanthi Nilyam, sleeping in Prashanthi Nilyam. But when admission is not granted, you are no more a part of that old hostel group. So one day we were asked to pack up our bags and go back to our native places because our names had not been shortlisted to be a part of the higher secondary school list. As soon as we came to know of this, towards June, early part, end of May or June, when the admissions actually began to happen, we had no other option but to start praying to Swami. We still had the privilege of sitting in portico. We were seated right in the front, and we were pleading Swami that Swami, please give us admission. And seeing our faces, I can tell you the way Swami used to turn away, the way Swami changed his ways of giving darshan. He never used to come wherever we six boys were sitting. Uh, it was becoming more and more difficult to approach Swami and to pray to him that Swami, please give us the admission. That point in time, our seniors, as all the brothers have said, Sundarayar, Tribhuvan Sachdev, Divakar, I can name so many, Sai Sundarnath, Yogi Nandakumar, all these people started telling us, you keep praying to Swami, you keep praying to Swami, you write letter to Swami, and see to it that, your consistency, your convincing is reaching Swami, day in and day out. So our prayers doubled. We started writing letters to Swami, and through our brothers who were, privileged to go inside Swami's room, interview room, we used to give one letter in the morning, one letter in the afternoon, one letter in the early evening, one letter in the close to darshan time, and one at night. So five, six letters we used to give to them, needing Swami that Swami, please give us admission. Though we have failed in our endeavor to keep your, expectations, but please give us admission. And that was very, very tough testing time. I remember my parents had come and Swami had granted them interview. At that point in time, when all this, hardship was going on, I was so happy, and all these other boys looked at me. "Okay, boss, today you pray to Swami inside the interview room for admission." I was so happy. Yes, yes, we will pray. I went and sat close to those boys who go inside the interview room. That once my parents go to interview room, I will also go along with my parents, and I'll pray that we are given admission. But as soon as Swami came after darshan, Swami asked me, "You are a student?" I said, "Yes, Swami." "Chalo, go and sit with the students." I requested Swami like to be allowed to come inside the interview, but Swami did not allow. And literally in my tears, I was forced to sit with the students, and my parents said, "Good interview."
So
Where
how many
I
days?
came to
How many
know
days you had to cry?
we had to cry almost for 15 to 20 days. I mean, it was more of crying or anything, that we were really pleading to Bhagwan, "Okay, whatever we have done is a blunder. You please pardon us. You please give us admission." Inside the interview room, my parents were given good whatever advice Swami had to give them, but not a single word about me and my going to 11th class. My father is asking some question, but Swami evaded that question very smartly and did not answer. After some time, we came to know that the list is prepared and our names are not in the list. And we were asked by Nityanand Menon sir, "Please vacate the hostel, or you will not be allowed to come into the hostel. You please vacate your old hostel." That was the day when we were all broken, and we felt that this is the end of the end of life for all of us. We all were in tears, sitting in Portico, praying to Bhagwan. That day evening, when Swami came out, we were sitting at different locations. And that point in time, each one of us got up and we just get out Swami. We just held held him and crying. We were crying very badly. Swami, give us admission. And we were all saying, "Ki, whatever we have done is a mistake." Swami, like you are surrounding Swami, and Swami breaks that, breaks the cage kind of a thing, and he walks. He just leaves us nowhere, and he walks, to the lady's side. And again, he comes back. Again, we get out Swami. And Swami was so angry, I can tell you. And Swami just told, "Throw these boys out of Portico. Throw these boys out of, Prashanthi Nilyam." We were so, we were so broken at that point in time that I can't imagine it this time as to what could be our next step. What could be our next step to really, tell Swami how we could, get the admission. Finally, all these emotions, all these prayers, all these things that happened, finally, Bhagwan, in all his love, with all his blessings, he came and he started shouting at us in Portico very openly. It was an open kind of a blasting that we individually got, scolding that we individually got from Swami that point in time, and Swami called us inside the interview room. Finally, and let me tell you, all the seniors who were sitting in Portico had a sigh of relief. That these boys really needed to be, in the inside the interview room with Swami. That was the love. That is the love of Bhagwan's, surroundings. That you are all supported by all seniors and all like-minded people. Inside the interview room, a big drama happens. Swami, starts asking, "What is your percentage?" And one by one, we start telling. And then Swami starts scolding us. "This is the percentage that you really studied for? This is the percentage that Swami wants? This is the percentage that your parents would want?" Swami was in all his, best of shoutings, best of anger. Finally, he reached the last boy, and this last boy was sitting pretty happy that he had scored little better marks. And I think that would subside Swami's, anger. It would subside Swami's, the anguish. He asked, "Okay, what is your marks?" And this boy gets up and tells Swami 82%. At that point in time, I think Swami's eyes turned red, and Swami said, "Where is the other 18%? Where is the other 18%? Swami wants 100%. Swami wants perfection. Swami wants excellence." These are the words which Swami said to that 82% boy. And let me tell you that, there is no way we can be sure that what Swami actually wants and what we are conveying is exactly same. So Swami, at that point in time, shouts, scolds, shows his anger on everybody, and then he tells them, "Swami will give you admission, but you have to ensure that you study and you do well. Otherwise, I will throw you out in middle of your 11th." That is the commitment you have to give to Swami. And again, with Swami's blessings, we came out very, crying and smiling from that interview room, and we thought everything is done. We
Ashutosh,
forgot
I
that,
think
Swami,
you have really brought in a very beautiful point. You really brought in a very beautiful point, and all the listeners can make a note of it, that these boys got scolded for getting 70s and 80s, and that was the expectation of Bhagwan. And since the
absolutely.
inception, our school has always scored 100% pass marks, but his expectations were there. Dhurjati Anil, how would you interpret this experience of Swami not being satisfied even at 80 for somebody? And he can sometimes overlook 70 also.
Right. So I think it's such a beautiful experience. So what all Swami had to do, he had to act that he is angry. He had to act that he's shouting at us, while the motherly love that he had for us always was so strong, because he was taking care of each of us and making sure that we reach our true potential. So in some cases, like what Ashutosh said, even I've heard Swami during one of the interactions with a student, and this boy said, Swami asked him, how many marks did you get in math? And he said 96. And Swami said, what happened to the 4? And in another case, when it came, in this case, it was me, and Swami asked me, how many marks did you get? And I got 74. And Swami said, good boy, take Pada Namaskaram. So I mean, and trust me, to me, getting to 74 was extraordinary feat of achievement. And I had to put in a lot of effort to be able to even get to that. And so when at those times, Swami encouraged you to continue on the path. And for those who could, slide back because you feel overconfident about your own achievements and thus miss reaching your true potential, he made sure that he patted you on the back. So it was a unique, Sadhguru, he was master for each of us and uniquely for each of us. Each one of us were his pupil, his student. And it is a one-on-one teaching that went on based off the circumstances that you were in. But some things, like one more thing I would like to point out from Ashutosh's experience, and that's not uncommon for a lot of us, whether it is in his physical presence or even beyond physical presence, where we crave for a particular, thing or event or whatever. And we ask the Lord of the Lords, he says, Swami, please bless me with this, whatever it is. Could be job, could be anything, could be health. And Bhagavan seemingly does not respond. I mean, I'll narrate a little incident in my own case. When my mother was sick, my father sends a telegram to me saying that mother is seriously ill, pray to Swami. And I had no understanding of what actually happened. We didn't have a telephone at home, and we couldn't and the hostel was one telephone for everybody too, so it was hard to communicate. So it was a telegram that came in. So I sit with the telegram right in front of Swami's interview room. As Swami comes out of the darshan, he looks past me. I was standing up on my knees, and then Swami does not even, I was kneeling down, and Swami does not even look at, it just doesn't look at me. And then I cried my heart out at that moment. Swami goes for darshan. He comes back. I couldn't even lift my head to see Swami because I was really hurt. That, here I'm in this situation. I need your help. It somehow makes me feel that in the most critical time of my need, somehow I'm not able to feel your support. That's how I felt sitting right there in front of Swami. I mean, the Lord of the Lords is right there, yet he doesn't cater to your prayer. That's how it appeared. So my eyes were, really filled with tears, and I was just bending my head down. And then I basically gave up, and I was kind of, there's nothing, no expectations in my heart. I was not as thinking that Swami is going to do anything. In that moment, Swami calls from the back of the VIP line where he was talking. He says, "Hey, Dhurjati." Then I get up, and then I go. Initially, I thought somebody is actually calling me. I said, "Hey, no man, Swami is outside." So I was telling that person, But it was Swami. And I say, "Hey, Swami is calling you." So I go before Swami, and I kneel down with my tear-filled eyes. And Swami looks at me and he says, "Ammaki angina." So he says, "Your mom has angina. Nothing to worry. Swami's prasadam. No, please send." And Swami says, "Swami's prasadam. Swami will give prasadam. Send it." And so Swami creates vibhuti, puts in my hand, and then I send it to my mom. And she has, they live in Puttaparthi. She has gone through that incident and came out, well. But the point I wanted to make was, I was thinking, if you're going to respond, if only you responded to me right away after you came out of the interview room, I didn't have to cry. That's what I was thinking, I mean, why did you have to make me go through this whole thing? And I think the bigger lesson I got for my life is that we ask for something, we are not prepared to receive it. Without the preparation, we're not going to receive it because our cups are full. It has to be emptied. Bhagavan makes you go through the churning so that you can be ready to receive. That is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is, I also had to learn that when you go to a doctor, you don't tell him what is the prescription. You go to the doctor, you explain your case, and you wait for him to give you the treatment. Then you take it wholeheartedly, even if it is a bitter pill. When it comes to Swami, somehow the expectation is that, at least in my case, was that I sit there, I stand this, and Swami, creates something. He says, "Don't worry, everything is fine." This is my expectation. So I'm actually dictating what Swami should do for my problem. And I think it kind of is, overall, when you look back, it is a silly way to approach a grand problem like that, So I think it is the same thing in our lives too. When we reach out to Swami, everything he will grant you, especially everything that you crave from your heart, he'll grant you. But it comes when the desire is intense, focused, and you are ready to receive without any strings attached to that. Then it just flows beautifully. And this is what I think, I take off Ashutosh's experience and also my own experience. I'm sure most of us resonate with that, that kind of overall understanding of how the sweet Lord so beautifully works in every case, uses every opportunity.
As you mentioned, I wanted to just combine, as you rightly said, your experience and Ashu's, because I feel, if you look at it from destiny point of view, as somebody had mentioned, that you are supposed to play Veena there in Mandir, and Swami had kind of predicted it beforehand. And by calling Ashu, the admission was supposed to be given because they were there. But still he played that drama of delaying, the drama of, you crying and all of you, craving for it. So in my little mind, I feel, yes, your destiny was to get that reward of playing Veena or getting an admission, but that would be like a withdrawal of your deposits, what you already have. By making you cry and crave and arrive at a value of it, you develop a certain kind of, now I know the worth of getting into a college, or I know the value of playing a Veena in Mandir. See, that adds to the bank account of yours. So he not only blesses you with what you are destined, but he creates even that as an opportunity to enhance your, worthiness, so that you can enjoy his grace for a longer time. So
Yes.
I find he's so gracious in every manner.
I just add.
I just want to take 2 minutes. I just want to take 2 minutes to just end the way we got admission into Swami's higher secondary school. My pardon for
Sure,
getting in.
finish fast, no problem. We have 2 minutes.
After the interview was done, and we were telling Swami to communicate to Nityanand Menon and the school principal about the admission. Like earlier case, both of them were unfound. They were not in the portico at all. And it became a scene for next 2 days that Swami was not able to communicate, and we are still sitting in portico without our name in the school register. The school had started, all the boys had joined the hostel, and what we came to know that day, Swami coming and telling us, "अरे, अभी तो बहुत लेट हो गया, अभी हॉस्टल में जगह नहीं है.
It's
You
too
are
late.
already
There's
very
no
late.
place
The
in the
classes are
hostel.
too late. There is no place in the hostel." Again, we went back to what we were earlier crying and craving, and then Swami telling us, "Okay, I'll give you admission," but still we are nowhere close to getting to hostel and school. Uh, and every day we are pleading. Again, 2 days went by, and we are pleading with Swami as to give us the. And finally, it was a scene. Again, we grabbed Swami and forced him that please do something right now. The classes have started. We are not in school. We are not in hostel. Swami asked for a piece of paper and a pen. And on that, he asks each of our names and he writes. And down below in the piece of paper, he writes, "Please grant admission." And that paper was sent by
Wow.
that paper
Wow.
was sent to school principal, by some old student or the teacher there who was there. He carried that piece of paper to the principal, and that's how we six boys got into the hostel and got into the school again. So I just wanted to end this whole thing, how beautifully it ended,
So
and
beautiful.
how we got
Lovely.
into Satyasai Higher Secondary School. Thank
Anil,
you.
you want to add something in the same thought process?
See, actually, my process has been like this: ki, whatever I wanted from Bhagavan, Bhagavan always kind of said no. To be frank with you, ki my entire uh, studies, I was asked to get into engineering continuously. So I used to kind of write letters to Swami and send it to him. And it so happened once I sent a letter in the morning, and afternoon I went and sat on the front row. So I wanted to leave the institute and go. Then before I kind of was sitting there, Swami comes and opens the door and comes, stays to me and says, "What is letter? Why? What is letter?" And he doesn't say anything, and he just walks off. Then I kind of, okay, I should come, because we can't leave anything without his. Yeah. Then I continue. Then I kind of finished my post graduation and did my management or whatever it is from outside. And suddenly I happened to get into a engineering firm only, finally. And right now I'm continuing the same firm. And believe it or not, I am the only guy without any engineering degree to be handling the firm. As his wills, he can't do anything. He has nobody to kind of decide what you are supposed to do. He decides and he carry forward. That's it. As simple.
Nice. Okay, let me ask you a little flavor before I go to other questions. For a primary school children, we have seen that they were kept busy with the routine, but in bigger hostel, the life is more independent. But there is a lot to do, and we call that as extracurricular or some kind of self-reliance program. So may I ask, which one were you attached to? So Anil, which were you attached to?
I was attached to the maintenance, hostel maintenance, fixing of lights, maintaining the electrical system. Even I maintained for about a year's time the generator set, the manual generator set. I know once one Supratham before, we had to, power went off, so we had to switch on the generator. I tried my best, I couldn't start it. Then I fell sick. It's very tough. But we were supposed to maintain the entire system, and the whole system was owned up by boys. Entire maintenance of activity power system owned by the boys, and I was part of it, and that taught me in the process that anything which you own up, you cannot that's what I've been taken forward. Now I'm into electrical industry only, same which has been carried forward.
We were doing everything, like from kitchen to gardening. So Dhurjati, where were you?
So for me, if you want to abbreviate it, it's Bhajan and Bhojan. So kitchen certainly was some, where I volunteered. I took part in, I think all of us took part in chapati making and also serving, cleaning. I was also part of a library, and I was certainly, involved quite a bit in the music room. There were so many wonderful. I mean, that's a blessing in itself to be associated with some of the wonderful seniors that immensely, took pity on people like me and taught music so much. So it is amazing. I mean, that's just
actually, Dhurjati, if you remember that our hostel music room was very cute, very beautiful, small room.
Yes.
And we had prepared the first CD for Swami.
Right.
Bhajan CD in that hostel, right?
I was
so beautiful.
Right. I mean, I was not involved in that one, Abhi. So not the CD part. I was not involved.
Okay.
But just in terms of the music room, we used to manage it. We used to maintain it. We used to take turns. So that there was quite a bit of involvement for us from that.
Excellent. Ashutosh, what about you? What was your department? You are on mute, Ashu. Unmuted.
I was in charge of the Wisdom Wall. Blessed to be part of Wisdom Wall. Had privilege of having good writing, and then preparing Wisdom Wall. Whenever Bhagwan visited hostel.
I think we had
so it was a beautiful privilege. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
When Swami. So when
now,
Swami used to come to hostel,
please explain what is Wisdom Wall, because you using the abbreviation which we know, but for the audience.
Correct. As soon as you actually enter the hostel, you on your left or on your right, you will see a beautiful wall which has all the good writings or whatever
think of it like a notice board. Think of it like a notice board, but instead of notice, we used to have these lovely quotations and work of the students.
Yes. So all writings on the wall used to be of more of inspirations and what Bhagwan has been guiding us all. So it was more so that we highlight as to what are the festivals that those are being celebrated, and the way things happen as far as those going inspiring the students of that hostel are concerned. So that was Wisdom Wall for us.
Okay, on this tone, let me ask you quickly about something about your teachers in the school, because I always believe that Swami chose our teachers very beautifully, and exemplary teachers we had. So, any good fond memories of any teachers that you would like to quickly mention?
Actually, when I was into, my wing teacher used to be A. Shankar Subramanian sir, who was a maths teacher, who used to teach us maths during those days. So I used to have a lot of interactions with him with regard to maths problems. And simultaneously, I was interacting with Sundareshan sir, C.N. Sundareshan sir. Right now, he's the HOD of, Vrindavan. And he used to teach us chemistry, inorganic chemistry during those days. I used to have a lot of interactions with these two teachers during my 11th and 12th days. I think same with Dhurjati and Ashutosh also, they must be having those memories. They used to teach us during those days. And as Sivarama Krishna Sathya used to teach us organic chemistry, and that everybody is aware of. These are fine memories I have, and without which probably wouldn't have cleared class 12. That's how it was. Very nice. Very touching kind of thing.
Ashu, Dhurjati, you want to add, please? Actually, I have some. Yeah.
Yes. So for me, those names that Anil mentioned, Professor Shankar Subramaniam, and also Sundareshan sir, Shivaram Krishna garu, Subbarao garu, Muralidhar garu. I mean, there are so many wonderful, wonderful teachers. But one of the teachers that made a lasting impact for me is our Vijay Mishra sir. He when he taught or talked about a book or anything, it was so mesmerizing. It just captured your every every sense was immersed in his talk. He was a fantastic lecturer. And I think same goes with other teachers too. They took so much interest in making sure to support you as needed. And even like Shankar Subramaniam sir, took so much interest in making sure that I actually learn maths properly. And so is Sundareshan sir. So much of efforts that they put in. uh, I mean, there's enormous gratitude I have for them.
I just
Excellent.
want to add
Ashu?
one thing. Just want to add one
Yes.
thing. B.K. Mishra sir, no, he was a wonderful storyteller. The way he used to narrate a story, I mean, I remember his, voice modulations. This is something which probably kind of everybody gets glued for entire session for 1 hour or so. He narrates a story fantastic. Probably no one, I have not seen anyone coming close to him in terms of narration part of it. I think most of you will agree with that. Wonderful,
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we
Excellent.
have
That's what
already
he
said. Yeah, very
Habu sir,
well.
probably we had fantastic memories of as a principal, strict disciplinarian, but we kind of learned a lot from his way of handling situations without losing cool. Something which I really appreciated. I had not seen so much of responsibility with so much responsibility to handle entire school without losing, without even losing a single. He never raises his voice also. That's how
He was
probably
from an army background. Am I right?
Mhm.
right. And his style of ensuring that the national anthem has to be within 42 seconds. You should repeat, repeat, and that's fantastic. Those things we never knew that. Probably those things I learned from my school days. It's very good.
I remember him coming to hostel to wake you up in the like afternoons and then help asking you if you need some more assistance. So it was very important with Habu sir. And
Right.
really, today is a nice day for us to offer our gratitude to all our teachers. By the way, Mishra sir is one of my favorites too, because he's the one responsible for my English. So whatever little English I have learned is only because of him.
He was my guardian, local guardian. Mishra sir and Raman Rao sir also. They were my local guardians. So I had to give my name. Their name has to be there in my form. Yeah, local guardians is Dr. B.K. Mishra and Mr. Raman Rao. So I know. It's something which very memorable for me.
And you had Ramkrishna Reddy sir. He was
Yeah.
accountant. He studied with Swami. He lived with Bhagwan all his life, and then he became our teacher. And then amazing stories. But yes,
He looks
he's
younger
there.
than us. He looks younger than us nowadays.
Their age freezes. Puttaparthi teachers, everybody's age freezes. So we grow older, but they remain there only.
But
Nice.
one thing to add though is that I think we remain as dear students for them, and then they are occupied the dear teachers in our hearts. Even today, some of these teachers remember us. Every birthday I get blessings from some of these teachers, and every time we visited, when Professor Habu was walking, if we come across him, he would actually give you a hug and then put a Swami's photograph or vibhuti in your pocket. So
In your pocket.
this is something, it's amazing bonds that we made as fellow sadhakas under Swami's divine umbrella there.
Till his last day, he did that. Till
Yes.
the last moment I met him, he used to always ask, "How are you?" And then he would just put a softly picture of Swami. It's so nice of him.
Right.
Okay, brothers, let me switch gears since we are coming to end of our last section of our session. So let me change some topics here. I'm very curious to learn from each other about our own personal journey with Bhagwan. And even though we have come with a little bit of background with Bhagwan parents and environment that has helped us to accept Bhagwan and get involved with him without much of a headache of comparisons in life. But there is a journey which individually we go through, and I call that as a validation phase, which everybody individual goes through. So I would be very interested if you can, tell me your journey of validation with Bhagwan. When did that faith, that conviction, internal conviction, and how do you perceive Bhagwan today? The concept of God, that validation of God in life. How do you explain that? Anybody? I leave the floor open. We have this is the last phase, so please start. Who
For
wants
me,
to
I
start?
think, let me
Yeah,
start then.
Anil. Sure.
See,
Yes, sure.
See, the whole thing started for me, the incident which I narrated earlier. When Swami knew every bit of my thought, whatever I had thought. The way he kind of described, he made me believe that every thought which is passing in my mind, that is known to him. So, moment you know that that is known to him, at least my actions are guided by that particular consciousness. Whether Bhagwan is aware of it or not, I'm 100% sure he is aware of it. And moment he is aware of it, my actions would be much more refined to make it make them acceptable to Bhagwan. That's one thing which I learned over a period of time, because this is where I can't cheat myself. If I'm doing something, it has to be validated by my conscience, and then only I can do something, and I can't go wrong with my validation, because I know it is being watched by Bhagwan 24/7. Every you can't escape that. So that has helped me in my journey towards say to him, or whatever it is, to him I would say, with in a massive way, because without that I would not be able to get into all these activities that right now I'm into, because I believe seriously my thoughts have to be guided. Means I need to have a right kind of sangat, the friendship. If I don't have right kind of sangat, my thoughts can't be guided. So I am into an organizational activities just to ensure that I'm occupied with the good kind of good people with good actions, but my thoughts are guided towards some kind of a direction towards him. So that is the biggest plus I have learned probably in my state, which wouldn't have learned had I been anywhere outside. That journey towards God is happening because of my sangat and my being aware that he is inside me, watching every action and every thought of mine is helping.
Ashu, what is God for you? How has the concept of
as
God evolved
Bhagwan,
with you?
yeah, as Bhagwan always, said all throughout that you do my work and I do your work. So being, I'm witness to that particular aspect of Bhagwan in a larger span of my life. The way, I took up Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization's, zonal youth coordinatorship, that was in 2002 to 2008. And the way we worked with the youth of Navi Mumbai here in Bombay, it was a divinity all around. And the way we presented to Bhagwan all the work, all the good work that the youth of Maharashtra were doing, Swami was already aware. And rather than we submitting reports after reports to him, we used to come to know the way he always sees that good work which is happening. So it was like, okay, fine. You are doing my work. Let me also take care of your families. I can take care of all the work that you're doing in the office. And I have experienced enough in my life since I took over Vidyavahini also as one of the larger than life project that we initiated in 2009 2010. And coming to with Vidyavani at this stage, I always feel that we are only the instruments. We are mere instruments. Bhagwan is the doer, and Bhagwan always drives us in the right direction, giving us all kinds of inputs that is required. So I feel that doing his work and he doing our work has always been a kind of reciprocation which I've experienced in life. So that's what drives, okay, we are always there with Swami. Swami is always there with us, and whatever we do is as per his guidance and as per his command. So that's my experience, the way life goes and as on today.
Sure. Dhurjati.
So going back to the question about validation, what you asked, Abhi. So Swami said, test before you accept. And so I think most of us will go through those stages of having, testing Swami, which he gladly, accepts and then responds when the test is stemming out of a sincere desire to learn about him and to follow him. That desire has to be sincere. And then, Swami does help you, provide you that confidence that he is the Lord of the Lords. But within that statement, Swami also says, I am the Lord of the Lords, I am God, but so are you. So now, once you establish that Swami is God, that data point really is not much of value, because he says, you are also God. So it becomes a journey to understand what that statement means. So which is really, we start. So it starts with asking Swami. So who is he? Who are you? That's the question we ask Swami. Then we turn to the society and say, hey, we have to do all this stuff. We have, so it still is external, so to speak. But the underlying concept really that Swami came to give is to make you realize who you truly are. So that focus happens through these two steps of having reached Swami and having served in the society, recognizing that Swami is in everybody. Then you come back and start looking inwards to see who am I right now, and where is Swami inside me. I'll tell you, there are so many experiences that Swami grants to everybody. Actually, I think if we start looking for it, you will find it. In one very influential, what's a experience that I was witness to was, I know Abhi, you are also witness to this, was when this a gentleman who was wheelchair bound was taken into the interview room, and
no backbone.
we all noticed it because we all saw these both doors being open, and then there was somebody, his son was pushing this gentleman inside the interview room. Then 20-25 minutes later, and we see from outside the gentleman is pushing his own wheelchair and walking. And so when Swami came inside the bhajan hall, so one of the boys stood and he said, Swami cured this gentleman of this. Swami is God. And Swami touches this boy on the back and he said, I touched you, nothing happened. I touched him, he got up and walked. He said, the power is same in both cases, but the faith is different. So once you establish that Swami is God in your heart, if we develop the faith, then we will be able to utilize the grace. Swami said there's so many beautiful ways. One time he came into the corridor.
I think it's such a beautiful message. It's such a beautiful message. I am same.
Yeah.
I am same. Right. I touched him and he got cured. I touch you, nothing happens.
Right. and just to add to this, one time Swami came and asked, every conversation, every word that the Lord of the Lords uttered was Satyam. That's what Swami is. So Swami came and one time he asked, he said, how was the food? And we said, Swami, food was good. We said, food is good, but head is not good. That's why you're not able to reach God. So in the whole process, Swami puts the emphasis on us transforming ourselves so that we can actually receive the grace of the Lord. So even that really is to help us achieve the goal that he has come to give. So this is something that, the validation of the path is only the experience you get by practicing. And I think that is for every one of us to start looking at self audit and then keep practicing. And the results are right there. The results are right there. And it only, this is a cyclical world of grace and faith and effort. The more effort that we put in, the more grace we get. The more grace we see, we put in more effort. So this is a cycle that we are all in. In some cases it is through the work of in society. In other cases it could be internal too. Really, in the end, the goal is for your self transformation and self realization. And in everything that Swami did, in every word that Swami uttered, in every act that happened there, his focus was only one thing: to make sure that you are on the path of the spiritual, the spiritual path of realizing who you truly are. So that's what I think, the message I
Absolutely.
got for my life at this stage.
I think Swami has that. If I may say that, he was so focused on the purpose of his mission,
Mhm.
if I may put it in that terms, that he did everything focused to that. So his main mission, like you are God, and for that, if you need to play, he provided you the best facilities. You wanted to meditate, he gave you the best. He wanted to do bhajans. So anything and everything you did in life, he diverted them towards that.
I
So
should
I
add.
think there was
I should add one more sentence, Sabi. Sorry, I know you're running short of
no,
time
please
here.
tell. Yeah.
But and the most important thing that we get from Swami's teachings is that my life is my message is what Swami started with, and then he said your life is my message. I mean, this is an ultimate extension of logic. When my life is my message, if you were to extrapolate it, when it is really effective, that means if we followed his message, then our life should be equal to his message too. So it's almost a mathematical equation: a equals to b equals to c. And therefore, our lives are his message. And the reason it is like that, in my understanding, is that the only way a teacher can impart a knowledge to others is by actually inspiring you, uh, inspiring you to adopt it, because it is Udareti Atman Atmanam, that is the Bhagavad Gita shlokam. Nobody can get you on a path. You have to get on there. They can inspire you for that. Even the avatar, when he comes, that part of the will he does not rule over. He says that part is up to you now. If you want to come back to the source, here is the path. But come back, because this is the Ananda Swarupa. So that
Do
is
you
what
remember?
the mistake is.
I remember one day Swami was talking about free will.
Mhm.
Anybody remembers that he was said there is no free will
Yeah.
in something? Yeah.
Yeah. See, Swami,
Anybody remember?
I'll say this, and I think others can jump in too. See, free will, this is a question that everybody has, when we reach a spiritual master, we say, is the world really that fixed that we cannot really do anything? And Bhagavan's message is yes, it is, until he says you have very, very little, we don't understand this in tactical terms, what it really translates to, but there is very little room for free will in general for every one of us. But what Swami said is free will is for person who is free of senses. So when you are free of senses, when you have the total control of your senses, which is basically another way of saying that free will is only God, because the only time you have control of your senses is when you have the mano nashana. So when you don't have the mind, which is basically creating the maya of ahankara, when you remove that boundary, then you merge with the God, and so you have the free will. So the free will is only for people who are
Who
free
are
of
free?
senses. When you are bound, when you are bound by the senses, you cannot claim that you got free will. So this is obviously I paraphrase quite a bit here, but if you read Swami, you'll come up with your own very clear. Every little word that Swami said is such a beautifully clear and simple terms, so that we can actually comprehend it with our little understanding and practice it.
Brother, I'm keeping the floor open so you can please jump in as you get some thoughts. Because I wanted to prick your brains for that. because there are occasions when Swami would sit in the bhajan hall. You remember, next to the stool, just before the bhajan, and he would start talking, and from a very common, like apparently looking very casual conversation, he would start conveying some wonderful concepts, which we always took it as a nice interaction with Swami. But really, now you think about it, they were really profound. Even though he would narrate it in a very, in a such a matter of fact manner, that most of the time we didn't even give that due importance. So like something like chanting Omkar or something. Do you remember anything? Anyone has a memory? I'm just throwing a thought at you all to pick your brain and then think. Remember, he was talking about Mananam and all that, something like that. So, Dhurjati, remember something? Anil?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, there are way too many instances in everything that Swami interacted with students or anybody really. His goal, like what you said, Abhi, was to drive home the point of learning the profound truths. So in the Omkar part is actually pretty interesting experience too. One time, from the bhajan started, about to start, Swami was standing in front of me in the darshan in the portico. So I was looking at Swami. Now, when the Omkar starts, am I to close my eyes? Am I to keep my eyes open? Because now Swami is in front of me. So I kept my eyes open because I said, hey, I'm seeing Swami. And so obviously this whole thing is going on in my mind, saying, should I open, should I not open? Should I see Swami? I mean, this mind is agitated. So Swami said, hey, Dunapota, close your eyes. Swami said, close my eyes. So the point really is that the darshanam of Lord should happen, internally, not the charma chakshu, not the skin eyes when you're talking about darshanam. That is the starting. That is at a very preliminary, secular worldly level. But the darshanam really should be felt in every cell of your body. And for that to happen, it happens only when you forget yourself. This tanmayatvam, that's what you forget your body, tanmayam. So when you forget yourself, then you receive it fully. And that the beauty of Swami's darshan was that many times we ended up, getting into that early stages, especially when you're innocent and when Swami is God for you, no questions, mind is calm, everything goes beautifully. So it's a simple interaction like that. Swami will teach you a profound truth that be focused on the Lord inside of you. And I can tell, I mean, others can jump in. But the other one I'll say about Mananam too. Mananam is also something that I've heard Swami explain this beautifully. One time in an interview room setting, Swami asked, he said, hey, all of you close your ears tight. And we close your ears tight and you hear this humming sound in your ear. If you just focus, you hear a hum. And Swami said, hey, this is the pranava. This is the pranava that goes on around, that has been there, Adi Pranava. He said you should be able to hear it and all the time. That is where you are basically achieving the meditation. So this and extending this whole logic, Gayatri mantra is also, this is mantra based. Pranava is also first of all mantra to start with. And Gayatri mantra, when Swami gives us, blesses us with, it is not the ucharana, which is not the pronouncing or repeating with lips that is that important compared to hearing it in our mind. So when you close your eyes, you should listen, you should be able to hear Bhagavan's voice chanting. In my case, this is how I take it. Bhagavan's voice chanting repeatedly the Gayatri mantra. And for that to happen, what happens is that scenario where you are listening to Swami really shuts off the rest of the senses. The only thing you have to be so focused to be able to hear that is only Swami's voice in your heart. And that is mananam. It is not repeating. This is how the mantra should be done when you're doing. And when you do that, it's amazing. Your whole body actually reverberates with the Gayatri mantra because you're hearing it inside you and
Beautiful.
in voice. Yeah.
Anil,
Lovely.
Ashutosh.
Very nice.
Oh,
Very nicely
where is
mentioned.
Ashu?
I think
Ashu went off.
Dhurjati has covered very good. Dhurjati has covered very good. And I just, Gayatri Mantra is something which I kind of do it in a very, call it ritually daily basis, starting from early morning till, I finish off 5 kilometers walk. So my continuous chanting would be going on with that. But I enjoy that, the kind of confidence gives me over a day, throughout the day. That is something different. The day I don't do it because the rainy season or whatever it is, then I have a different feeling. So I can connect with it very nicely. The way Dhurjati has explained it, it is something which is to be felt within, and that is how the whole the way you interact with outside world, it is guided by within, and that is, I fully agree with Dhurjati's exposition. It's very nicely done, very nicely done.
Anil,
Very,
when
very
you
nicely
were
said.
doing your lighting effect in Mandir, so there were occasions when you had early morning darshan of Swami.
Yeah, I
In
remember.
that in that
Yeah,
silence, was there
I'll
any
tell.
kind of message from Bhagwan when he saw you in the morning, 5 o'clock?
I'll tell you. I had a chance of that was again in '86, Christmas time. The entire night we worked in Mandir, finished the decoration, and early morning Bhagwan comes out, opens the silver door, and gives darshan when everybody chants carols and all that takes place. And before he could open the door, we guys were standing behind the silver door, and we were given Pad Namaskaram, and that is something which is very special. You can imagine the day begins before he could go and give a darshan to entire world, and we are the guys kind of have the chance of having Bhagwan's Pad Namaskaram, and he is kind of putting his hand on our head, something which is this is a feeling which probably needs to be felt. And I that is one thing. And 60th birthday time also, same thing had happened, early morning darshan, and that is something which everybody craving for Bhagwan. And we being a blessed year because of some karmas, and we get blessed because of Swami comes and gives the Padnamaskar to us the very first instant. Something to probably a different feeling altogether. It's very difficult to explain.
I'm sure you can recall that beautiful aura and that
Absolutely,
halo of
absolutely.
hair in front of you.
Especially
Ashu,
especially new any what you call celebrations, Bhagwan's energy, the way he emanates, throws energy, something which is very difficult to find pulse it in a normal day, because probably I find it more the devotees, more the energy comes out of Bhagwan, something which is I find maybe a logical thing,
natural.
I don't know, but I feel so. Uh, People
It
can
is.
agree with me.
Yes, yes. Ashu, your input.
I think Dhurjati and Anil have said beautifully, and that experience of the darshan and sparshan of Bhagwan has always been very, very personal. And the kind of energy that fills you in is something that you need to experience, and that I've been experiencing all throughout. So it's fantastic to hear what pranava is all about, what Gayatri mantra is all about, what darshan and the experiences of the divinity is absolutely beyond.
Oh,
Oh no.
I think his internet is fluctuating really bad.
Right, right.
So before we close, Durjati, I'll ask you to get ready with your veena so that we can close with a nice instrumental. And Ashu is back, so we'd like to hear his words and any experience. So Ashu, sorry your internet is fluctuating bad.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Yeah. So anything you would like to recall interaction with Bhagwan, any message for us which you can share for everybody?
Yeah, it was in I think 10th class that we did a kavali in front of Bhagwan in hostel when he had come, and during that visit we had all put mustaches and beards, and Swami was so happy to see us all in different costumes. If you could show that photograph, Avi, it'll be interesting for everybody to see what kind of experience we had during that kavali. It was absolutely out of this world. It was so fantastic.
Any interaction, anything you remember for this picture? Ashu, is that the picture, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah, is another one before this. Uh, there was a Kawali photograph, I had shared
Oh, okay. Yes.
before this. Yes, this is the one. This is the photograph, of that hostel program that we did.
I see some veterans here, man. So, do you recall any message for us that you want to share at the end?
See, during that time, what had happened was I had written a message on Wisdom Wall when Swami came to hostel during that visit. The message was written in Urdu to celebrate Eid ul Fitr. And what had happened, we had all, prepared ourselves for this Kavali. And when we were ready to receive Swami, there was a message that I received that, Swami is calling you outside, and I had to rush in that costume to to Bhagwan and see what he had to say. And he was sitting in his in his room in the hostel, and then he just asked me कि ये तुमने लिखा है बाहर जो विजडम वॉल में लिखा हुआ है, ये तुमने लिखा है. So I told Swami, yes Swami, I have written, but I was also worried inside that some mistake must have happened, and Swami would really would have caught that, and then he would. We always had that kind of apprehension, we never had that, something something always, positive to hear. But then Swami very nicely said, this is written very beautifully, and who writes so well. हिंदी में मेरे को पूछा कि तुम जानता है इतना सुंदर कौन लिखता है. So there are no words, and I just bent down close to Swami and just said कि I don't know. And then Swami very beautifully he puts it कि जिसका heart pure होता है वो इतना अच्छा लिखता है. So
One who has the pure heart can write so neatly.
Yes. So that was the
I'm just
message which I
translating for
still have
everybody.
it. Yes.
Very nice.
So these are the words which Bhagwan always blessed us with as far as our personal journey goes, and that has gone a long way, to being in his service, being closer to him all the time, and understanding what Swami actually expects from us all the time.
Excellent. Thank you, brother. I think we are reaching at the end of our time. So may I ask Dhurjati brother to play anything he feels like to take us back into that era of music with Bhagwan.
Okay, I will play one bhajan. It's pretty it's close to my heart. The bhajan is Bhajaman Ram. It captures all our journey, really, to keep repeating Swami's name with our mind. So I'll start with I'll actually just play the bhajan and I'll end with it. So thank you.
Thank you, Dhurjati. Thank you so much. And thank you all, brothers, for this
Sairam.
wonderful satsang. And I wish to thank all the audiences who have joined us from different parts of the world. I see people from Suriname, America, and Indonesia. So welcome all. Thank you very much for joining. And be grateful to Bhagwan for yet another opportunity for us to bask in his glory, think about him, and share those wonderful blessed moments. So thank you, brothers, once again from bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. Sai Ram.